The alarm bells rang through the mining station like screaming metal birds. Captain Elena Vasquez ran down the narrow hallway, her boots making loud sounds on the metal floor. Workers stopped what they were doing and looked at her with scared faces. They all knew what those alarms meant. "Captain, you need to see this," called out Thomas from the control room. His voice shook like a leaf in the wind. Elena pushed through the door and saw him pointing at the big screen that showed space around their station. "What am I looking at?" Elena asked, but her heart already knew the answer. "Ships, Captain, lots of them coming this way fast." Elena stared at the screen. Bright dots moved across the darkness of space like angry stars. She counted 12 ships, maybe more. They were big ships, the kind that carried weapons and soldiers, the kind that could turn her small mining station into space dust in seconds. "Are they council ships?" she asked, even though she already knew. Thomas nodded. His face was white as paper. "Yes, Captain. I checked the scanner 3 times. Those are Zelthani warships, the big ones." Elena felt cold all over. She had hoped this day would never come. For 200 years, humans had lived out here in the empty parts of space. They built small colonies on planets nobody else wanted. They dug for metals and rare stones. They stayed quiet and tried not to bother anyone. The Galactic Council had thrown them out of civilized space long ago. They said humans were too dangerous, too wild, too unpredictable to live with other species. Elena's grandmother used to tell stories about Earth, about the blue skies and green grass. But Earth was gone now, taken by the Council when they kicked humans out. "How long before they get here?" Elena asked. 6 hours, maybe 7, Thomas said. "They're not trying to hide. They want us to see them coming." Elena looked around the control room. Her crew of 25 people depended on her. Beyond that, 3,000 colonists lived and worked on this station. They had families here, children who had never seen a real planet with trees and oceans. This was their home. "Send a message to all the other stations," Elena said. "Tell them the Council is coming. Tell them to run if they can." Thomas's fingers moved fast over his controls. "Captain, where can we run to? We don't have big ships. Most of our transports can barely make it to the next system." Elena knew he was right. Humans out here in the rim had to make do with old ships and broken parts. They fixed things with wire and hope. The Council ships were new and fast and built for war. "We run anyway," she said. "Maybe some of us can get away." The next few hours passed like a bad dream. Messages came in from other human settlements. The Council wasn't just coming for Elena's station. They were hitting every human colony they could find. Station after station went dark. Some managed to send final messages before the end came. "They're burning everything," reported Maria from communications. She was crying. "New Shanghai colony is gone. Port Williams is gone. They're not even asking people to surrender. They just attack." Elena watched her people work. They loaded supply ships with as many colonists as they could fit. Children cried as their parents carried them to the transports. Old people moved slowly, carrying small bags with everything they owned. "Captain," Thomas said quietly, "I'm getting reports from the outer colonies. The Council isn't taking prisoners. They're not trying to capture anyone." Elena understood what he meant. The Council wasn't here to make humans slaves or put them in jail. They were here to make sure no humans were left alive. After 200 years of leaving them alone, the Council had decided to finish what they started. "Why now?" Elena asked. "Nobody in particular. We haven't bothered them. We stayed out here where they told us to stay." "Maybe that's the problem," said old Pete from engineering. He had lived through the first exile when he was just a boy. "Maybe they decided we've lived too long." Elena thought about that. Humans had survived out here when everyone thought they would die. They built new homes on dead worlds. They found ways to grow food where nothing should grow. They had babies and taught them to read and gave them hope for tomorrow. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe the Council thought humans would just disappear if they left them alone long enough. Instead, humans had done what they always did. They adapted. They survived. They made the best of what they had. "Captain, the last transport is loading," Maria reported. We can fit maybe 200 more people. Elena looked at the numbers on her screen. 3,000 people lived on this station. They had transport space for maybe 800. The math was simple and horrible. Load the children first, Elena said. Then the parents. Then anyone else we can fit. What about us? Thomas asked. The crew? Elena looked at her people. These men and women had worked with her for years. They had become like family. She couldn't ask them to stay and die, but someone had to keep the station running until the last transport left. Anyone who wants to go should go, she said. I'm staying until everyone else is safe. Most of her crew stayed too. They didn't say much about it. They just kept working, helping load the transports, making sure everything ran smoothly. Elena felt proud of them and sad at the same time. The council ships got closer. Elena could see them clearly now on the main screen. They were beautiful in a deadly way, with smooth silver hulls and blue lights that pulsed like heartbeats. She had seen pictures of ships like these in old books. They were the ships that had driven her people from Earth so long ago. Captain, Thomas called out. His voice sounded strange. I'm getting something weird on the long-range sensors. What? Kind of weird? There's another ship out there. Way out past the edge of our sensor range. It's big, Captain, really big. Elena frowned. Council reinforcements? I don't think so. The signal is different, and it's broadcasting something. What? Thomas listened to his earpiece for a moment. His face went from confused to shocked to something Elena couldn't identify. Captain, it's broadcasting old Earth codes. Pre-exile authentication codes. Elena felt like someone had hit her in the stomach. That's impossible. That's what I thought too. But the computer confirms it. Those codes are real, and they're old. 200 years old. Elena stared at the screen. The council ships were getting closer, maybe 3 hours away now. Behind them, far in the darkness, something else was coming. Something that claimed to be from Earth. But Earth was gone. Everyone knew that. The council had made sure of it when they exiled humanity. Earth was just a memory now, a story grandparents told to children. Keep monitoring that signal, Elena told Thomas. And get the last transport ready to launch. Whatever's out there, it might already be too late. She looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, her people were running for their lives. Somewhere else, ships from humanity's past might be coming home. And somewhere between hope and fear, Elena Vasquez prepared to find out which story would end her own. Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Glory of Zelton. His forearms were crossed behind his back as he watched the human colonies grow larger on his screen. The Zeltani had waited 200 years for this moment. 200 years to clean up the mistake their ancestors had made. Admiral, the human settlements show no signs of advanced defenses, reported his tactical officer. Their ships are old cargo vessels and mining equipment. No military vessels detected. Kethvar nodded with satisfaction. Just as expected. When the council had exiled the humans, they had taken away their best technology and their strongest ships. What remained were scattered groups of refugees trying to survive on worthless rocks at the edge of space. How many settlements have we identified? Kethvar asked. 47 confirmed colonies, sir. Population estimates suggest around 2 million humans total across all sites. 2 million. Such a small number, really. The Zelthani Empire alone had over 60 billion citizens. The entire Galactic Council represented nearly 1 trillion beings. 2 million humans were like dust in the cosmic wind. Begin the cleansing operations, Kethvar ordered. Start with the outer settlements and work inward. Leave no survivors. His crew moved efficiently to carry out the orders. Kethvar felt no emotion about what they were doing. Humans were a disease that had been allowed to spread for too long. The Council's original exile had been merciful, perhaps too merciful. They should have finished the job then. The first attack went exactly as planned. A small mining colony called Haven's Rest had 30,000 residents. It took exactly 14 minutes to reduce it to burning debris. The humans had tried to run, but their ships were slow and poorly armed. None escaped. Excellent work, Kethvar told his weapons officer. Continue to the next target. On Elena's station, the panic was getting worse. Reports came in every few minutes about another colony being destroyed. Each message brought news of friends and family who would never be seen again. Blue River Station is gone, Maria reported, tears running down her face. They got out a distress call, then nothing. Elena felt sick. Blue River had been home to her cousin and his family. His 2 young daughters had never even seen a real river, but they loved the stories about the one their station was named after. How many people have we evacuated so far? Elena asked. 600, Thomas replied. We're loading the 7th. Transport now? Elena did the math in her head. They could maybe get 1,000 people off the station before the council ships arrived. That left 2,000 who would have to stay and face whatever came next. The unknown ship was still out there, still broadcasting Earth codes. Elena had ordered Thomas to try making contact, but they got no response. Whatever it was, it stayed, far away, and said nothing more than those old authentication signals. Captain, we're getting a transmission from the council fleet, Maria announced. Elena's blood went cold. Put it through. The main screen changed to show Admiral Kethvar. Elena had seen Zelthani before, but never won this high ranking. He had the typical forearms and gray skin of his species, but his uniform was covered in medals and rank insignia. His voice was smooth and cold when he spoke. Human colony designated mining station 447, Kethvar said. You will cease all evacuation activities immediately. Any ships attempting to leave will be destroyed without warning. You have contaminated this region of space long enough. Elena stepped forward, even though she knew he couldn't see her. This is Captain Elena Vasquez. Our people have done nothing wrong. We've lived peacefully out here for generations. Peace was never an option for your species, Kethvar replied. The Council has decided that the human contamination must be completely eliminated. You have brought this upon yourselves through your very existence. The transmission ended. Elena stared at the blank screen, feeling anger rise in her chest like hot fire. Contamination. That's what they called her people, her children, her friends. Not criminals or enemies, but contamination to be cleaned up. Captain, Thomas said, quietly. The 8th transport is ready to launch. Send it, Elena ordered. And keep loading the next one. Over the next hour, the Council ships moved steadily closer. Elena watched them on her screens, counting down the time until they arrived. Her crew worked without stopping, helping families get to the transport ships, carrying supplies, saying goodbye to people they might never see again. The messages from other colonies became fewer and fewer. Either the settlements were all destroyed, or they had stopped trying to communicate. Elena suspected it was the first option. Captain, I'm still tracking that unknown contact, Thomas reported. It's gotten closer, but it's still way out there. Any luck with communications? Nothing, it just keeps broadcasting those Earth codes over and over. Elena almost laughed, but it would have sounded crazy. Here they were, about to die, and some ghost ship from humanity's past was playing old songs in the dark. Maybe it was fitting. Maybe Earth itself was coming to watch its children die. Captain, the Council fleet is 2 hours out, reported the sensor operator. They're not trying to hide their approach. Elena nodded. The Council wanted them to see death coming. They wanted humans to be afraid, to know that their time was over. How many transports have we launched? Elena asked. 11. About 1,400 people evacuated so far. 1,400 saved out of 3,000. It wasn't enough, but it was something. Those 1,400 people would live to see another day, to have children, to keep humanity going somewhere out in the dark. Captain, Maria called out. I'm getting signals from the transport ships. They want to know where to go. That was the question Elena couldn't answer. Where could humans run to now? The Council had ships everywhere, sensors that could track fleeing vessels across multiple star systems. The transports might escape this battle, but for how long? Tell them to scatter, Elena decided. Different directions, Different destinations. Maybe some of them will find somewhere safe. As the minutes passed, Elena found herself thinking about her grandmother's stories. Stories about Earth, about green fields and blue oceans, and cities full of people who weren't afraid. Her grandmother had been young when the Exile happened. She remembered the sky being torn apart by council ships, remembered the desperate evacuation that took humanity away from its home forever. "We survived that," Elena said quietly. "What?" Thomas asked. "My grandmother used to say that humans survived the Exile because we're too stubborn to die quietly." Maybe she was right. Thomas managed a small smile. Maybe some of us will be stubborn enough to survive this too. The council ships were close now. Close enough that Elena could make out details on their hulls. They were beautiful and terrible, like metal sharks swimming through the darkness toward her small station. "Captain," Thomas said suddenly. "That unknown contact is moving. It's moving fast." Elena looked at the sensor display. The mysterious ship that had been sitting far away was now accelerating toward them. Not toward the council fleet, but toward Elena's station. "How fast?" Elena asked. Thomas checked his readings twice. "Captain, that's impossible. Nothing moves that fast." "How fast?" "It would have to be going faster than light, but without entering jump space. That's not possible with any technology we know about." Elena felt a strange feeling in her chest, like hope and fear mixed together. "Keep tracking it, and get the next transport ready to launch. Whatever's coming, we're going to keep saving people until the very end." Outside her window, the stars looked the same as always, cold and distant and eternal. But somewhere among them, something was racing toward a small human station where a woman named Elena Vasquez refused to give up on her people. The council ships came closer. The mystery ship came closer. And in the space between them, 3,000 humans waited to see which would arrive first. The space around Elena's station suddenly filled with light. Not the harsh light of weapons fire, but something else entirely. A soft blue glow that seemed to bend the stars themselves. Thomas stared at his instruments with his mouth open. "Captain, that ship just appeared out of nowhere," he said. "1 second empty space, the next second it's right there." Elena looked at the main screen and felt her breath catch in her throat. The ship floating in front of them was enormous. It had the basic shape of the old Earth battleships from her grandmother's stories, but it was wrong somehow. Too big, too smooth, too perfect. "How big is that thing?" Elena asked. Thomas worked his controls with shaking hands. 15 kilometers long, Captain. Maybe more. It's bigger than some of the space stations back in Council territory." Elena had seen pictures of the biggest ships humanity had ever built before the Exile. The largest had been maybe 3 kilometers long. This thing was 5 times bigger than that, and it looked like it had been grown rather than built. Its hull was silver white and seemed to flow like liquid metal. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission," Maria announced. "Audio only." "Put it through." A man's voice filled the control room. He sounded young, but there was something old in the way he spoke. Something tired and determined at the same time. "Mining Station 447, this is Captain Marcus Chen of the United Earthship Defiance. We received your distress signals. Please respond." Elena felt dizzy. United Earthship. Those words hadn't been used in 200 years. There was no United Earth anymore. The Council had made sure of that. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez," she said into her microphone. "Who are you? Where did you come from?" "We came from home, Captain Vasquez. Earth remembers its children." Elena sat down hard in her chair. Earth. The word hit her like a physical blow. Earth was gone, destroyed, or occupied by the Council. Everyone knew that. "Earth is gone," Elena said. "The Council took it during the Exile." Captain Chen's laugh was soft and sad. "That's what we wanted them to think, Captain. Earth is very much alive. We've been watching our people out here for 2 centuries, waiting for the right moment to act. The right moment for what? To come home." On Admiral Kethvar's flagship, chaos had replaced the calm efficiency of a few minutes before. The massive human ship had appeared without warning, somehow bypassing every sensor and detection system the Council had. "Report," Keithvar ordered, his forearms gesturing sharply. "Admiral, the vessel appears to be of human origin, but its technology is completely unknown," his science officer replied. "It's broadcasting no weapons signatures, but what? Admiral, our sensors can't penetrate its hull. Whatever it's made of, it's not in any of our databases." Keithvar studied the image on his screen. The human ship was beautiful in an alien way, all smooth curves and flowing lines. It didn't look like a weapon of war. It looked like art. "Open. A channel," Keithvar ordered. "Channel open, sir." "Human vessel, this is Admiral Keithvar of the Zelthani Empire. You are interfering with a lawful Council operation. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The response came instantly in perfect Zelthani. "Admiral, this is Captain Chen. You are trespassing in human territory and attacking civilians. You have exactly 60 seconds to withdraw your forces." Keithvar felt his spine ridges rise in anger. "Human territory? You were exiled from civilized space. You have no territory here." "We do now," Chen replied simply. On Elena's station, people gathered around the communication screens to listen to the exchange between the two ships. Elena found herself holding her breath. The Council had 12 warships out there, each one powerful enough to destroy her station. The human ship was alone. "Captain Chen," Elena said into her microphone, "there are 12 Council warships out there. Heavy cruisers and battleships. Are you sure about this?" "Captain Vasquez, we've been preparing for this day for 200 years. Trust me." Elena wanted to trust him, but the math didn't work. One ship against 12, no matter how big, seemed like suicide. "Captain, the Council ships are moving," Thomas reported. "They're forming an attack formation." Elena watched the tactical display as the Council fleet spread out around the human ship. It was a classic encirclement maneuver, designed to hit the target from all sides at once. "Human ship Defiance," Admiral Keithvar's voice came over the communication channel. "You have ignored our warning. We will now demonstrate why humans were exiled from civilized space." "Admiral," Captain Chen replied, "you're about to learn why." That was a mistake. The first Council ship opened fire. Elena watched streams of energy weapons streak toward the Defiance, enough firepower to crack a moon in half. The weapons hit the human ship and simply vanished, absorbed into that flowing silver hull without causing any visible damage. "Impossible," Elena whispered, but it got more impossible. The Defiance began to move, and it moved in ways that broke every law of physics Elena knew. It didn't accelerate gradually like normal ships. It just suddenly was somewhere else, appearing behind one of the Council cruisers as if it had never been anywhere else at all. The human ship's weapons were nothing like the energy beams and missiles the Council used. Instead, sections of the Defiance's hull seemed to reach out like liquid metal arms touching the Council ship. Where they touched, the enemy vessel simply came apart, its hull dissolving like salt in water. "Thomas, are you recording this?" Elena asked. "Yes, Captain, but I don't understand what I'm seeing." Elena didn't understand either. The Defiance moved through the Council formation like it was dancing, never staying in one place long enough for the enemy weapons to target it effectively. Each time it touched a Council ship, that ship died. Not exploded, not burned. Just quietly fell apart into its basic components. In less than 5 minutes, 6 Council warships were gone. The remaining vessels tried to retreat, but the Defiance was faster than anything they had ever seen. It appeared next to fleeing ships and touched them with those impossible metal tendrils, and they too dissolved into space dust. Admiral Keithvar's flagship was the last to die. Elena heard his final transmission, his voice filled with something she had never heard from a Council officer before. Fear. "Impossible," Keithvar said. "This technology should not exist. We checked. We made sure Earth was eliminated." "Captain," Chen's reply was gentle, almost sad. "Earth was never eliminated, Admiral. It was transformed." The last Council ship came apart like the others, and suddenly the space around Elena's station was quiet again. The Defiance hung motionless among the debris, its silver hull reflecting the light of distant stars. "Captain Vasquez." Chen's voice came over the communications. Your people are safe now. The immediate threat has been eliminated. Elena tried to speak, but no words came out. She had just watched one ship destroy an entire council fleet without taking any damage. Ships that had seemed invincible a few minutes ago were now nothing but scattered atoms in the vacuum. How? Elena finally managed to ask. 200 years of preparation, Captain. 200 years of learning, growing, and becoming something new. The Council thought they were exiling humanity to die. Instead, they gave us time to evolve. Evolve into what? Into something they should have left alone. Elena looked around her control room at the faces of her crew. They all wore the same expression of shock and wonder and growing hope. Captain Chen, are there more ships like yours? Chen's laugh was warm now, not sad anymore. Captain Vasquez, the Defiance is just the beginning. Earth sent us to find our people and bring them home, all of them. Elena felt tears running down her cheeks. Home. After 200 years of exile, of scraping by on the edges of space, of being told they were contamination that needed to be cleaned up, someone was offering to take them home. What about the Council? Elena asked. They have thousands of ships, millions of soldiers. The Council made a mistake 2 centuries ago, Chen replied. They thought humans would quietly disappear if they left us alone long enough. Instead, we became something they were right to fear. But they're about to learn that it's too late to fix their mistake now. Outside Elena's window, the Defiance began to glow again with that soft blue light. But this time it wasn't alone. One by one, more lights appeared in the darkness. More ships, dozens of them, each one as impossible and beautiful as the first. Earth had not forgotten its children. And now, Earth had come to take them home. The council chamber on Zelthar Prime had not seen such chaos in 500 years. Representatives from 14 species argued loudly while emergency reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The humans had not just returned, they had declared war on everyone who had participated in their exile. High Counselor Vrextal of the Vorthak Collective raised all 6 of his arms for silence. His voice carried the authority of ages when he spoke. Order, he commanded. We must have order if we are to survive this crisis. The chamber fell quiet, but the fear remained. On the great display screens, tactical reports showed the same impossible story repeating across dozens of star systems. Human fleets appeared without warning, destroyed council forces, and vanished again before reinforcements could arrive. What is our current military status? Vrextal asked. General Corinth of the Hegemony Military Command stepped forward. His reptilian features were grim as he delivered his report. We have lost 47 fleets in the past 6 hours, Corinth said. Not defeated, lost. No survivors, no wreckage, no evidence they ever existed, except for the final transmissions. A murmur of fear ran through the assembly. 47 fleets meant nearly 2,000 warships and over 3 million crew members. How is this possible? Demanded Councillor Yathara of the Crystalline Federation. Our intelligence reports indicated the humans possessed only primitive technology. Our intelligence was wrong, Corinth replied simply. The humans have developed weapons and defenses that our scientists cannot explain. Their ships move through space in ways that should be impossible. They appear and disappear at will. And their weapons. He paused, struggling to find words. Their weapons don't just destroy. They disintegrate matter at the molecular level. On Elena's station, the evacuation had stopped. There was no need for it anymore. The human fleet had positioned itself around the mining facility like a protective shield, and Captain Chen had made it clear that no council ship would get within a light year of the place. Elena stood in her communications center, watching the reports come in from across human space. Colony after colony was being liberated by Earth forces. The scattered refugee settlements were suddenly under the protection of the most advanced fleet anyone had ever seen. Captain, Thomas called out, I'm getting a message from the transport ships we sent out earlier. What do they say? They want to come back. They say human ships found them and told them it was safe to return home. Elena smiled. Home. The word was starting to mean something again. Tell them to come back, Elena said. Tell them all to come back. Her personal communicator chimed, and Captain Chen's voice came through clearly. Captain Vasquez, would you like to come aboard the Defiance? I think you'd find it interesting. Elena had been curious about the massive ship since it first appeared. I'd be honored, Captain Chen. The transport that came for her was unlike anything Elena had ever seen. It looked more grown than built, with the same flowing silver hull as the Defiance. When she stepped inside, she gasped. The walls seemed to be alive, pulsing gently with soft light. The air smelled clean and fresh, like the forest her grandmother had described. Captain Marcus Chen was waiting for her in what he called the bridge. Though it looked nothing like any ship bridge Elena knew, it was a large circular room with no visible controls or displays. Instead, information seemed to float in the air as needed, responding to thought and gesture. Chen looked younger than Elena had expected, maybe 40 years old, with the kind of calm confidence that came from absolute certainty. He was tall and lean with dark hair and eyes that seemed much older than his face. Welcome aboard the Defiance, Captain, Chen said, extending his hand. Elena shook it and was surprised by the warmth and strength of his grip. Thank you for saving my people, Captain. But I have to ask, how is this possible? What happened to Earth after the exile? Chen gestured, and the air around them filled with images. Elena saw Earth as it was now, but it took her a moment to recognize it. The planet was covered in structures that seemed to grow from the ground itself, reaching into space like metal trees. Ships moved between them constantly, not flying but flowing through the air like schools of fish. The Council thought they destroyed us when they forced the exile, Chen explained. They took our colonies, our trade routes, our allies. They left us with just Earth and told us to disappear quietly. But you didn't disappear. No. We adapted. We had the greatest minds in human history working together with one goal: make sure this could never happen again. We developed new technologies, new ways of thinking about space and time and matter itself. Elena stared at the images floating around her. How long did this take? 200 years of constant work. Every human on Earth dedicated their life to this project. We call it the Great Work. What exactly is the Great Work? Chen smiled, and Elena saw pride and sadness mixed in his expression. We merged with our technology, Captain. Not replaced by it, but merged with it. Every human on Earth is connected to every other human through a network that spans the entire planet. We share knowledge, experience, creativity. We became more than the sum of our parts. Elena felt a chill. You're not human anymore? We're more human than we ever were before, Chen replied. We kept everything that made us human. Our emotions, our creativity, our stubborn refusal to give up. But we added capabilities the Council never imagined we could develop. The images around them changed, showing the battle that had just occurred. Elena watched the Defiance move through the Council fleet again, but this time she could see what was really happening. The ship wasn't just moving impossibly fast. It was manipulating space itself, folding distance to appear wherever it needed to be. Is everyone on Earth like this? Elena asked. Everyone who chose to be. The transformation was voluntary, but most of us chose it because we knew that someday the Council would come to finish what they started. Elena thought about her people on the Rim colonies, struggling to survive with broken equipment and limited resources. What about us? The exiles? Are we still human enough for you? Chen's expression grew warm. Captain, you are exactly what we've been working to protect. You and your people represent humanity at its finest. You survived impossible odds, built lives from nothing, never gave up hope. You're more human than those of us who stayed behind and transformed ourselves. The images shifted again, showing human colonies across the galaxy. Elena saw her own station from the outside, looking small and fragile among the massive Earth, ships that protected it. What happens now? Elena asked. Now we finish what the Council started, Chen said. But we finish it our way. No more exile, No more hiding at the edges of space. No more being told we're contamination that needs to be cleaned up. You're going to fight the entire Galactic Council? We're going to make them understand that they made a mistake 200 years ago. And then we're going to make sure they never make that mistake again. Elena felt a mixture of excitement and fear. The human fleet was incredibly powerful, but the Council had billions of ships and trillions of soldiers. Can you win? She asked. Chen's smile was confident and cold. Captain, the Council thought they were merciful when they exiled us instead of destroying us completely. They gave us 200 years to prepare for this moment. We've used that time well. He gestured and new images appeared. Fleets of Earth ships moving through space, appearing at Council military bases, eliminating threats before the enemy even knew they were under attack. The Council is learning that there are consequences for underestimating humanity, Chen said. They wanted us gone because they were afraid of what we might become. Now they're going to find out they were right to be afraid. Elena watched Earth's forces move across the galaxy like an unstoppable tide. For the first time in 200 years, humans were not the ones running and hiding. When this is over, Elena asked, what happens to people like me, the ones who stayed out here? Chen's expression softened. You go home if you want to. Earth welcomes all its children, or you stay out here and build something new, with Earth's protection and support. The choice is yours. Elena looked around, the impossible bridge of the Defiance, then thought about her small mining station and the people who depended on her. I think I'd like to see both options before I decide, she said. Chen nodded. You'll have all the time you need to choose. The Council made sure of that when they gave us 2 centuries to prepare for today. Outside the ship's transparent walls, Elena could see the stars. They looked different now, not cold and distant, but full of possibility. Somewhere among them, Earth was calling its children home. 6 months had passed since the Defiance first appeared at Elena's station. The galaxy looked very different now. Where Council patrol fleets once enforced the Exile, human ships moved freely through space. Where refugee colonies once struggled to survive, thriving settlements grew under Earth's protection. Elena stood on the observation deck of New Horizons Station, but it wasn't the same small mining platform she had commanded before. Earth's engineers had transformed it into something magnificent, a gleaming city in space that housed 50,000 people. Through the massive transparent walls, she could see construction ships building new habitats and factories. Impressive, isn't it? Captain Chen's voice came from behind her. Elena turned to see him approaching. He looked exactly the same as 6 months ago, which still seemed strange to her. The merged humans from Earth didn't age the same way as normal people. It's beautiful, Elena said. But sometimes I miss the old station. It was smaller, but it was ours. This is yours too, Chen reminded her. Earth doesn't conquer, Elena. We liberate. Everything we build out here belongs to the people who live here. Elena nodded. She had seen the truth of that over the past months. Earth's forces had spread across the Rim territories, but they hadn't installed governors or demanded tribute. Instead, they had brought technology, resources, and protection. They had asked only that the colonies govern themselves and treat their neighbors with respect. What's the latest from Council space? Elena asked. Chen gestured and images appeared in the air between them. The displays showed star maps with red zones marking Council territory and blue zones showing human-controlled space. The Council has withdrawn to their core systems, Chen explained. They've abandoned the outer colonies and concentrated their remaining fleets around their homeworlds. Elena studied the map. The blue zones had expanded dramatically over the past 6 months, encompassing not just the human exile territories, but huge sections of space the Council had once controlled. Are they still fighting? Some of them. The Zelthani refuse to surrender, and the hegemony keeps sending probe fleets to test our defenses. But most of the Council species are asking for terms. What kind of terms? Chen smiled, but it wasn't a happy expression. They want to go back to the way things were before. Pretend the last 200 years never happened. Divide up the galaxy into nice, neat territories where everyone stays in their assigned place. And what do we want? Justice, Elena. Not revenge, but justice. The images changed. showing scenes from across human space. Elena saw children playing in parks on worlds that had been barren rocks a few months ago. She saw elderly humans walking under real skies for the first time in decades. She saw tears of joy on faces that had never expected to see Earth again. The council called us contamination, Chen continued. They said we were too dangerous to exist among civilized species. Well, they were right about one thing: we are dangerous, but not the way they thought. What do you mean? They thought we were dangerous because we fight, because we don't give up, because we adapt to situations that would kill other species. But that's not what makes us dangerous to them. Elena waited for him to continue. We're dangerous because we prove their system is wrong, Chen said. For thousands of years, the Council has maintained order by keeping species separate, by making sure nobody gets too powerful, by crushing anyone who tries to change the rules. They exiled us because we were growing too fast, learning too much, becoming too influential, and now? Now we've shown that their way isn't the only way. Look around you, Elena. In 6 months, we've accomplished more than the Council managed in 6 centuries. We've turned refugee camps into thriving cities. We've brought peace to regions that were always fighting. We've shared our technology freely, instead of hoarding it. Elena had to admit he was right. The transformation of human space had been remarkable. Not just the technology Earth had brought, but the spirit of cooperation that had spread among all the species in the region. Former enemies were working together on projects that benefited everyone. The other species in this region, Elena said, the ones who weren't part of the Council, they seem happy to work with us. They are. The Kriltar Federation asked to join our alliance last week. The Nimari Republic wants to establish trade agreements. Even some of the minor Council species are sending diplomatic missions. Elena walked to another window, one that showed the traffic around the station. Ships from dozens of different species moved through the space lanes, carrying goods and passengers between the growing settlements. It looked like the descriptions of Earth's solar system from before the Exile, when Sol had been the center of interstellar commerce. What about Earth itself? Elena asked. Are they satisfied with how things have gone? Chen was quiet for a moment. Earth is pleased that their children are safe, but they're not finished yet. Finished with what? The Council still exists, Elena. They're still telling species what they can and cannot do. They're still enforcing exile and punishment on anyone who doesn't fit their vision of order. As long as that continues, no one is really safe. Elena understood. The Council had exiled humanity once. If they recovered their strength, they might try again. Or they might target some other species that grew too successful, too independent. So, what happens next? Chen gestured again, and the displays showed something Elena had never seen before. It was Earth, but not the transformed Earth she had seen in previous images. This was Earth as it had been before the Great Work, blue and green and beautiful. We're going home, Elena, all of us. Earth has decided to end the exile permanently. What does that mean? It means we're going to the Council core worlds. We're going to sit down with them and have a conversation about how the galaxy should really work. Elena felt a chill. A conversation? A negotiation. Earth prefers to solve problems through dialogue rather than force. And if they won't negotiate, Chen's expression grew cold. Then they'll learn that the exile was the only thing protecting them from us. Elena looked out at the bustling station around her, then back at Chen. You're asking me to choose again, aren't you? Stay here in safety, or go back to the core worlds for whatever comes next. I'm not asking anything, Elena. I'm telling you that Earth is going home and anyone who wants to come with us is welcome. Elena thought about her grandmother's stories, about the blue skies and green fields of humanity's birth world. She thought about the council chambers where the decision to exile her people had been made. She thought about Admiral Kethvar and his ships, and how certain he had been that humans were just contamination to be cleaned up. When do we leave? She asked. Chen smiled, and this time it was genuinely happy. Tomorrow. The fleet is already assembled. Elena looked out the window, one more time. In the distance, she could see the Defiance hanging in space like a silver star. Around it, hundreds of other Earth ships waited in perfect formation. Beyond them, the vessels of allied species added their strength to the growing armada. "Captain Chen," Elena said, "when we get to the core worlds, what are you going to tell the Council?" "The truth, Elena. We're going to tell them that the exile is over. We're going to explain that humans are coming home. And we're going to make sure they understand that trying to stop us would be the last mistake they ever make." Elena smiled. After 200 years of running, of hiding, of being told they didn't belong anywhere, humanity was finally going home. Not as refugees or exiles, but as equals. Maybe more than equals. "Captain," Elena said, "I think my grandmother would have liked to see this day." "She is seeing it, Elena. Every human who died in exile, everyone who dreamed of going home, everyone who refused to give up hope. They're all with us now." Elena looked out at the stars one last time from her station in the Rim territories. Tomorrow, those stars would guide her toward Earth, toward home, toward a confrontation that would decide the future of the galaxy. The exile was ending. The real journey was just beginning. And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, the Council waited in their core worlds, still not understanding that the species they had thrown away had become the force that would reshape everything they thought they knew about power, about justice, and about what happened when you gave humanity 200 years to prepare for the day they came home. The day had finally arrived.